Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Tuesday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky, Luka Dončić, and Marcus Smart are going to play tonight. It's dress rehearsal number 1. Get you ready for it next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. Maybe it's Spotify, maybe it's Apple, iTunes. Perhaps you're, Andy, one of the 36,000 subscribers, more than 36,000 subscribers to the YouTube page, because you like watching the magic happen. You find us handsome. Maybe you're one of those people, and we are excited to have you. We are excited that you're leaving us questions and comments. We read them every day, and they are inspiration for the stuff that we talk about on the program. Most of you guys are getting excited on the YouTube channel for the preseason debut, Andy, of Luka Dončić. That is expected to happen Tuesday night. Luka likely to play Tuesday and then again Friday in the final preseason game. But we'll, I guess, know a few more details. Marcus Smart expected to play as well. So dress rehearsal number 1 expected Tuesday night. We'll get into it in a second, but only after we tell you that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So head to FanDuel.com to get started. So it would appear, Andy, we don't know for sure, but I don't think he's going to play in the back-to-back Tuesday and Wednesday. It would appear that dress rehearsal number 1 will be Tuesday, dress rehearsal number 2 will be Friday, but the Lakers are going to get a really good look at their roster tonight.
I got to be honest, if after all of this lead up and caution exercised and, the ramp up and the ramp down, then the ramp back up again, if they play,
if the ramp around, the ramp sideways,
if they go then and play Luka in the back-to-back of a preseason, I'm really going to question what the F these people are doing. And, I have made some of my dissatisfaction known throughout this process, but I've also said too, I understand it on a purely pragmatic level. All of my understanding or benefit of the doubt towards pragmatism will go straight out the effing window if Luka plays back-to-backs in a preseason. Like, that's insane. So the idea, though, that he would play tomorrow, then play on Friday, that gives him an extra day of rest before the Friday game, and B, the opportunity to not have to answer really stupid questions about what's it like to play Dallas in this preseason game, which I'm sure is sort of an extra benefit for Luka, because I'm sure that story's already gotten old and he's going to be answering that question for the rest of his life.
Right. But I mean, it's like, and plus too, he's played them already. Like, he went, not only is he
doesn't matter,
he's played them
doesn't matter
in Dallas.
Doesn't matter. I mean, LeBron still gets asked questions about going back to Cleveland. He's done it. He's left Cleveland twice, and he still gets asked about this.
But it's mostly in the context with LeBron of like, heading home or whatever.
Or Miami. He gets asked stuff about Miami.
To your point,
it's over a decade ago, and that stuff still comes up.
The Lakers, at this point, it looks like Luka will be practicing when they practice, playing when, you would expect him to play. And it kind of is what it is. Like, the Lakers, it's funny because like this, are you taking the preseason conversation? Are you taking it seriously conversation is essentially a question. Once LeBron was like, oh, he's like hurt. It really became a question of how are you managing Luka? Because I don't think most fans are, or certainly should, argue too much that like they haven't played smart enough, that they haven't worked. Like, you got to be careful. Like, we've seen a lot of dudes with we're not talking about like a sprained thumb or something. He's got Achilles, essentially a tendonitis in his Achilles. You can't be screwing around with that. And so I think most fans understand it. And it boils down to Luka and fans just getting rightly nervous about, this moment of maximizing what they can be, whether or not you're getting the most out of it. But we will at least see what the first, 10 games are. So what it might look like, against in this game Tuesday.
Yeah, and assuming that everybody is going to be present and accounted for tomorrow or Tuesday today, and I assume that's going to be the case, minus LeBron, who we know is going to be out for the foreseeable future, you've got the top 9 other guys in the rotation: Luka, Austin, Ayton, Rui, Vando, Smart, Laravia, Gabe, Jackson Hayes, maybe some opportunity for Dalton Knecht, who JJ had some interesting comments about after Sunday's win over the Warriors. We can maybe get into that, but you've got an idea of, hopefully, if health cooperates, what this team will look like for the opening 10 to 20 games of the season and the foundation that they are hoping to build over this week during practice. I mentioned this before, despite not having Luka and Marcus at full strength throughout a lot of training camp, Sunday was evidence that the guys who have been practicing, and in particular over this last week, what they were working on took, because there was a lot more synergy and cohesion to what they had been doing, especially compared to the opening weekend of preseason games where, frankly, they looked pretty disjointed and kind of a mess.
Mm-hmm.
So, I thought, it was not perfect, but a lot of it looked dramatically better. So it's hopefully just a sign of everything moving in the right direction. And then you add Luka to this and Marcus Smart. It's something that hopefully will start really getting fans excited for a season that really truly kicks off a week from today.
And what will be, obviously everybody's going to be interested in how Luka performs, and putting him back in that lineup. What does that do for Ayton? What does that do for Jarred Vanderbilt when he's in the lineup? How does Rui look there? I mean, I didn't see anything on Monday that would indicate that Reeves wouldn't be available.
JJ said Austin is going to play. That's why I was saying everybody's going to be.
Yeah, it seemed right. I'm saying so. It seems like, barring something changing, how does that, now your top 2 combo, what does that look like? Because for all the hand wringing or whatever over the Reeves Luka future combo, their actual numbers together last year were good. Sure. And so what do you do around them to bolster the defense? Well, that's Marcus Smart, that's Jarred Vanderbilt, that's potentially the 2 of them playing at the same time, depending on what the situation is. I think there'll be plenty of speculation going into Tuesday's game about who that 5th starter will be. Will it be the same one when they do presumably dress rehearsal number 2 on Friday?
I'm actually predicting
that's an interesting one.
I'm predicting now it won't be. I would not be surprised at all if JJ stuck with Vando for tonight, because he's been in this starting lineup for a while. You get an extended look at Vando with Luka, and then took a look at Marcus Smart in the lineup on Friday. Also, to give Marcus a bit more of a ramp up, because like Luka, he hasn't played at all, but we know Luka's going to start.
The question of Smart and the amount of reps that he's gotten actually is, because we talked about, before, and in the initial conversation, this is before LeBron was going, we knew he was going to miss the opener, who that 5th starter would be. And Marcus Smart was sort of one of your, big candidates to do that. Like, if you're looking at the list of Lakers and you're sitting at home trying to figure out who it's going to be, it's Rui, it's Marcus Smart. There aren't a whole lot of other, but like, the longer Smart didn't play, the more difficult it became to justify starting him. I do think there's enough preseason left that you could do it on the 21st. I don't know if you would do it on what is the Tuesday's the 14th, knowing that you have another game to demonstrate a different starting lineup still to come. I agree with you. I think as much as you want to see different stuff, it makes more sense to me to let Smart come off the bench for the preseason game, but we'll see. I mean, so much of this is like trying to organize, just like, I want to see these three combinations together. We only want to play guys for 20 minutes a night, or in Smart's case, probably 15. How do we arrange this? And so it could be possible to read too much into it, but who would you want to be? Like, what do you want the Lakers starting lineup to be on opening night a week from tonight? That is the question we'll ask next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season, it is in full swing. FanDuel is making sure you are ready for every kickoff with a can't miss offer. New customers, you bet just $5, $5. And if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love that FanDuel fits however you want to bet, whether you're talking player props, the same game parlay, even jumping in live as the action unfolds. If you're someone who just has a sixth sense, like a feel for how a fourth quarter is going to shake out, you can get ahead of those results with a little wager.
Your trick knee starts acting up.
Exactly. It's not just because it's raining. You can make every game more exciting, whether you're watching the team that you love in real life or you're just keeping an eye on that fantasy lineup. So you're ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
Locked on Lakers is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether you're talking 401ks, property, or investments, all of them, if you're kind of a baller. When you don't have a full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. And more importantly, you can end up making really poor financial decisions, because visibility is critical to excellent financial management. You cannot plan for, you cannot manage, you cannot monitor what you cannot see. And that's what Monarch Money does for you. It creates a financial dashboard. You have almost like a command center at your disposal to really get a handle on all of your spending, all of your investments, all of your accounts. And more importantly, you can see how all of it works together. Visibility is critical for taking care of your money. So don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONNBA. So I think it's fair to say at this point, Andy, that Rui is going to be a starter. That is pretty much done here. But now we have a conversation that nobody really wanted to have. Who's going to be starting in the LeBron spot now? There is that fifth place left open. What do you think Redick is going to do on opening night?
I mean, some of this, like you said before, I think is going to be dictated by how many minutes Marcus Smart can actually play at the start of the season. Because,
by Tuesday, yeah.
Right, by Tuesday, because while it certainly is not unheard of to have starters who play 15, 18 minutes a night, just sort of because that's where they fit best in terms of floor combinations and things like that, I would, all things being equal, most coaches want to have a starter that they can play 20-ish minutes a night.
At least.
I would say right now, all things being equal, I think I would rather start Vando for a couple reasons. I think he adds both Smart and Vando. The reason you put them in there in the first place is the defensive utility that they both bring that the roster does not have a lot of. But beyond that, I think Vando brings certain things that Marcus doesn't. He is faster than Smart, and I think he can handle a wider variety of defensive assignments that Smart can probably do too, but I don't think quite as well. He's a better rebounder, and I think those rebounds will give the Lakers an opportunity, particularly with Luka and Austin on the floor, to get the offense going quick, because Vando can grab and go, and he is confident taking the board down and moving things along that way. Both Vando and Smart would bring like an edge and an energy and that sort of intensity that I think, honestly, some of the higher profile players on this team can be lacking at times. Mm-hmm. So I think you get that with either one of them. But I think, again, all things being equal, and some of this I think will honestly be dictated more by Marcus's health than anything else. I would like to go with Vando, and I think there may be ways that, especially if Hayes is coming off the bench, while Marcus Smart is not a great three-point shooter, he is more of a spacer than Vando. If Hayes is coming off the bench, as I expect for the time being, because we don't even know if Maxi Kleber can play, although he did play in a stay ready game, JJ said. So maybe that means Kleber's getting closer. I think ready. Exactly. He's ready. He is ready if needed. Including like in game 5 in elimination.
I picture like Kleber, like he's like sleeping at home, like an alarm goes off and he just rips off like his pajamas, uniform's on underneath, ready to go.
Got to be ready, baby. I feel like there may be ways where Marcus Smart can actually help the second unit more than Vando can. So that's my thought for the time being.
I think what's interesting to me to try to think about balancing, because I think the most obvious people to put in there are Smart and Vanderbilt. Or what you have to for the defensive,
not at the same time.
No. Well, okay. One of those two guys, or who you would put in to go with Ayton, Rui, Luka, and Reeves. You know, you would want one of those two for the defensive presence. What I think becomes a factor here is how much does Smart's ability as a second, it's less about floor spacing to me, but as a sort of the guard skills, the secondary ball handling, the wheel greasing as a playmaker, not a point guard, but he's a guard. Like he does this better than Jarred
he's been
Vanderbilt.
A starting point guard for a lot of very good teams.
Right. I mean, this is his job. Yeah. And he's certainly a better passer and facilitator than Vanderbilt.
Yes.
The allotment of minutes where you need that guy changes significantly in a rotation where LeBron isn't playing 32 minutes a night. And so to some degree, some of these answers may be done by like, now all of a sudden, wait, do you need those guard skills a little bit more in the second unit now than you did in the first, where you could really depend on just Marcus Smart to just be a rabid defender and call it a day? I don't entirely know the answer. The other option, I guess, could be somebody like, Jake LaRavia or something like that, where you maybe keep both of those defensive options coming off the bench. But that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think you got to put one of the two of those guys in your starting 5.
The idea of playing both of those guys off the bench to often check the lesser perimeter options for your opponent, like when they are your two defensive specialists, like that just doesn't make any sense to me, particularly when the starters are not exactly filled with a bunch of plus defensive options. Like it doesn't.
No, I'm not.
Oh, I know.
I'm advocating.
I know you're not. I'm just gaming it out. I can't really see the logic for it. Like, LaRavia isn't a bad defender, but he's not somebody that you put into a starting lineup because you're thinking about
right. You would do it because you think he's a good enough defender, because you do want some of the ball handling ability, and LaRavia has shown like a little bit of that as a quick passer and all that kind of stuff. He's looked pretty good in those moments in the preseason. And then you decide that floor spacing is important with this group, that you want that ability to space the floor around the other 4 guys in the lineup. Again, I think LaRavia actually will be needed more with the second group for that reason.
Agreed.
But when you start to, again, like you say, kind of game it out,
I picture LaRavia potentially closing more games than starting.
Potentially.
I don't even think he's necessarily going to be a closing lock. I'm just saying, if you had to ask me, do I picture him starting more or closing more, the answer would be closing.
It'll be interesting to see in the regular season, if the closing lineups consistently mirror the starting lineups, and they may not. And I think the most common thing will be Smart or Vanderbilt which guy in which situation, depending on what
it's
you
interesting.
need.
Unless
I could also see situations where Rui's not in the closing line.
Right. I was going to say, I could actually picture, depending on who you're playing against and how many guard and perimeter options you really do have to account for, the last 3 or 4 minutes of a game where Smart and Vando are both out there, if the Lakers are protecting a lead, I could picture that happening.
Anyway, one guy who almost surely will not be in the starting lineup, but got an interesting review after Sunday's preseason game was Dalton Knecht. And we'll talk to you about what JJ Redick said about him next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Peloton, shaping the future of fitness with a brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ, their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. The Peloton IQ system offers real-time strength coaching. It actually tracks reps, suggests the right weights for you, corrects your form. It makes everything safer and smarter. And the personalized class recommendations keep you engaged. You get workouts tailored to your vibe and energy level each week. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com.
What to do with Dalton Knecht, Andy, is a conundrum that the Lakers are facing. It was reported, really not that long ago. I think it was last week. People were talking about how it was sort of around the league that, and I love this term, it's a very sports term, that Dalton Knecht was now seen as a negative asset.
Yeah, this was, I believe, a report from Dan Wojcicki from The Athletic.
There's a word for that. It's called a liability. Like, there's no such thing as a negative asset. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But that's just how we talk. It's like optionality. So what, it is really important for the Lakers that Knecht rehab his image, because he's one of the few trade pieces that the Lakers have, both as a potentially appealing player, but also as a salary number that's kind of in a spot where if you need $6 million to put into something, he's your guy. Like, it's important that you don't find yourself in a place where
he's really tricky, because he is theoretically both salary balancer and the main attraction, if you're thinking about him as truly a positive asset. Like, it's part of the problem.
Well, right. Ideally, you would want him to be, an asset, but like, you're thinking of, if you're trading for a guy who makes a certain amount of money, 2 or 3, like Dalton's money will be necessary. Then you're like, ooh, we get Dalton Knecht.
Sure. But I'm just saying, it's like one of the things that made the Mark Williams deal so potentially appealing before they looked at his physical,
before it became less appealing. I go back to Charlotte protesting. How dare you do that? We love Mark Williams, and like, how dare you do this to our guy, and turning around and trading him like 20 minutes later. Like, as soon as they could, he was gone again.
Well, by the way, too, one of the more underreported stories of the offseason that only like NBA geeks like me care about: Phoenix reuniting Charlotte's front court of Mark Williams and Nick Richards. It didn't work for them, but maybe it'll work for us. It's that Arrested Development. It never works for anyone else, but maybe it'll work for us. And then of course, drafting Kaman Maliwach, their 10th overall pick, who, if the Suns are actually trying to win the way they say they are, I don't know when he's going to play, but another story for another day. But like, one of the things that made the Mark Williams trade so great for the Lakers in theory was, A, they got the starting center that they wanted, lob threat, all that stuff. But B, it was a rookie scale deal for a rookie scale deal. Yeah. So Dalton actually could be the primary piece that Charlotte wanted, and the money matched. Like, it's hard to find impact players for a contending team that are on rookie deals.
So, we're looking forward if the Lakers were to try to organize a star trade, a going for it, an all-in kind of deal, likely they're going to need to aggregate some salaries together. And that's, Gabe Vincent plus, you need to get to 25 or 26 million, Dalton's money and his appeal. But what you really don't want to have to do is attach assets to that just to get somebody to take him. And so, it was interesting to hear Redick talking on Monday about Dalton's performance in the preseason. One of the reasons he started him in that game on Sunday was to reward him for the work he's been doing in camp. He said he's been their best offensive player by a fair margin. And so this was, an opportunity for him to show that against real NBA players. And I think there is some truth to that. I'm sure he's not making that up, but I think they're conscious of trying to put him in situations where he can rehab that image and get some confidence back and cook a little bit. And he did do some stuff in that game on Sunday that was beyond just 3-point shooting.
Well, it's also important to, as much as, the royal we, obviously including us, if you're old enough to remember 5 minutes ago, as much as everybody talks about Dalton Knecht and the necessity of getting his value back as a trade piece, there's also the importance of getting him back as a player, the actual value back as somebody that you can put on the court and help out, especially with LeBron. Not that Dalton Knecht is a substitute for LeBron. He's clearly not, but they're going to need to put together piecemeal different guys are going to have to contribute to the stuff that you're missing with LeBron. And Dalton can theoretically replace some of the shooting and the scoring that you're going to be trying to make up for. And, I remember we talked about this over the summer. I think everybody, and I'm including us, got ahead of ourselves in the first couple months of Dalton's season. And it was a fun story. There were a couple 30-point games. There was a 37, him just dropping to the Lakers so unexpectedly allowed all of us, I think, to get really excited at the possibilities with Dalton. And, he looked good in summer league, all that stuff. I think we all got ahead of ourselves to a point where we may have gotten too far down on Dalton because of everything that shook out for the rest of the year, some of which is pretty common for rookies playing on good teams. It is more unusual for rookies on good teams to get a lot of playing time unless they're just that good. For the most part, it doesn't happen. And I'm not saying this to downplay that there are issues with Dalton. There are. And, his summer league was disturbing. I guess he shouldn't have done so much 5 a.m. workout or whatever. But, he needs to be better. But I also think, the real Dalton Knecht is probably somewhere in between the guy that was being called the steal of the draft and the guy that people are wondering if he's the next JHS.
Well, I think what's tricky for a player like Dalton is his offensive skill set is pretty clear. He is a very good scorer. He is a good shooter. I think if you with a little bit of time, and consistency, it's pretty clear the guy can shoot. The percentages may not show it yet that he's 46%, but he can shoot.
He shot 37 or 38% from the arc.
And he was all over the damn place last year. I agree. And if you watch the rest of it, he can put the ball on the floor and he can actually pass a little bit. It puts, find that open player when he gets into the paint.
He's athletic.
Oh, he can. He's probably their, well, now that Thiero's on the team, is one of their 3 best athletes. Thiero, Knecht, and Bronny are their 3 best athletes.
It's crazy. Is that number
4? Bronny
4
just doesn't. It's just he's just so short. Nobody knows.
Crazy. Number 4 might still be LeBron. It's either LeBron or Rui.
Your athlete
or Vando. I guess Vando.
But when you see the problem with Knecht is he's not ever going to be in a position, not on a good team, where he's going to have free reign as a number 1 option to go out and do whatever, and you know, and pile up volume and kind of be unleashed fully offensively. And so it's all the other stuff. It's, you know, defense, obviously, and Redick pointed that out, like, you know, his ability to get on the floor is going to be related to his defense, nothing new. But it's also little stuff like DeAndre Ayton, for example, has been praised by, you know, people breaking down Lakers film in the preseason for like the quality of his screens and the timing of these things. Like I've watched a lot of basketball in the last 20 years, but I didn't grow up playing it. We've talked about this before. So like there's stuff that happens implicitly that I don't always see, which is why I try to rely on coaches and ask questions and all these other things. But like a lot of times with fans, they might be, well, why isn't this guy does this, he scores a bunch of, sometimes what screws up a play at the NBA level is something that happens 4 seconds before the ball was actually shot or turned over or whatever. It's because somebody doesn't set a long enough screen. They come at the wrong angle. They cut the wrong way. They do, and it screws everything up. And you don't know that because they never touched the ball. And so that, to me, this space, that's where Knecht suffers. It's those little things that make a team operate well that I don't think he does well yet. And my concern is that it's kind of an instincts thing and a fundamentals thing and a basketball IQ thing. And we will see over time if those things improve, because it's not the offense, and I don't even think it's just the defense. I think it's all of it.
Two things. First of all, and I have to say this because it'll bug me, Jackson Hayes is more athletic than Dalton. Dalton, in reality, I think is lower.
I actually don't know about that.
Jackson is more athletic than Dalton.
I don't know.
At his size, at Jackson's size, to be that, he's more athletic than Dalton. But the point being, Dalton is athletic. Like he has athleticism as one of the checks on his. You can leave comments now. Who is more athletic, Jackson Hayes or Dalton Knecht? I'm very confident
what can
right
only
now.
Amount to a wildly insignificant online debate.
Well, we're
knock yourselves out.
This is a sign we are really, really anxious for actual basketball. But
yeah.
The other thing, though, that I will say in a bit of a defense of Dalton, some of the stuff that he's being asked to do at this level is different than the way he played at Tennessee. He's playing much more off ball than he ever did at Tennessee.
Sure.
And that was the stuff that got people excited about him in the first place. And I think some of what he's being asked to do, obviously, he's got to learn it, because particularly on this team, but I think, frankly, most teams, he's not going to have the ball.
All teams. All
right.
of them.
That's what I'm saying. He's not, any team that's good, he's
Correct.
not going to have the ball in his hands as much as he did in Tennessee. So he's got to learn these other things. And a lot of it comes down to timing and when you move off screens and things like that. But I do think that there are more intricacies to it, to your point, than people sometimes realize.
Yeah.
And I think because Dalton is 24 and thought of as an old rookie, I think there is an assumption that these are things that he did all through college and should know. And why is it not translating? And to me, the question isn't not translating because he never did it in the first place. I think that's fair. Are you going to pick it up?
I think that's fair. And I think there's just a lot of unknown there. Mm-hmm. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 36,000 subscribers to the channel. Not a lot of unknown about that, Andy. It's a vibrant community that you should join. Subscribe to that. Subscribe to the audio product, whether that's on Apple or Spotify. We, of course, will be back after Tuesday's game to break down dress rehearsal number 1, and we'll all have a better idea of what we can look forward to a week from Tuesday when the Lakers open the regular season against the Golden State Warriors. See everyone after the game.